All right. Okay, welcome everyone. Thank you for being with us today. I'm Dr. Zan Novakovsky. My pronouns are they, them, and theirs, and I am the evaluator for the Florida Asthma Coalition and Program. And I am also a professor at Florida State University College of Medicine. I've been working with the Florida Asthma Program since the beginning of 12, and the same with the coalition. And I've been really excited to see all the different lunch and learns that we've been able to offer and to be able to help bring you new learning opportunities about asthma and public health topics in Florida. So today, we are fortunate to have with us a rescheduled lunch and learn that is not getting ruined by a hurricane this time. We have a session today on Florida environmental public health tracking and outdoor air quality. Presented by our wonderful colleagues, Diane Neidhart and Chris DuClos from the Florida Department of Health. So Diane is going to be up first. She's been with Florida Health in her role as the Outreach and Communications Specialist for the Florida Tracking Program since October 2020. Prior to working with Florida Tracking, she worked in public health for over 20 years in the private and public sectors. Some of the highlights of these years include working with the Volusia County SWAT and Tobacco Free Florida program, and also working with the American Cancer Society to make restaurants smoke-free in Florida. Diane has a master's in public health from USF and a CHES certification. Her slides are focused on community health promotion and prevention, and she enjoys hiking, biking, and volunteering at local art organizations, parks, and with local animal rescues. And then Chris is the principal investigator for Florida Environmental Public Health Tracking at FLDOH. He has worked in environmental health and epidemiology programs throughout his career. He has over 27 years of experience working on public health issues by using GIS for analysis, visualization, and reporting. And he served as an adjunct instructor in the FSU Department of Geography. So welcome, Diane and Chris. The floor is yours. And let me just make sure, I see a message in the chat from Olga about how we are going to handle questions today. If our Health Council staff would like to put some guidance in the chat for folks who are just joining about how we are going to handle questions, whether we want to hold them to the end of the session, just the end of each presentation, that would be helpful for folks to be able to see in the chat. But Diane, go ahead and get us started.
Well, thank you so much. Good morning or almost afternoon now, I suppose. And thank you for the kind introduction. I'm a regular attendee of the Florida Asthma Coalition Lunch and Learn, and so I'm very excited and honored to be sharing today about Florida tracking. There we go. Chris will be joining me, as has already been shared, providing a demo of the Florida tracking website and the portal, and as related to outdoor air quality after my presentation. Florida is one of 33 states that's part of the CDC National Environmental Public Health Tracking Network, and has partnered with the CDC since 2003 as the network was being developed. Our program is called the Florida Environmental Public Health Tracking, and since that's a mouthful, we also say just Florida Tracking for short. And it brings valuable data and information all together in one location, which is our website, floridatracking.com. The goal of the tracking program is to bring better information to the community. As part of our tracking overview, you might be wondering just what is environmental public health tracking? And environmental public health tracking means collecting and organizing reliable health and environmental data on a systematic, ongoing basis. Tracking, otherwise known as surveillance, helps us understand the status of the community's health and how it might change over time. Building a tracking network in Florida and throughout the United States provides an easy place to look at a variety of information and access data with the goal of, again, improving overall community health. The national program, the National Environmental Public Health Tracking Network, was first, was the first effort to provide the United States with the standardized health, environmental, and hazard data for multiple health systems at the federal, the state, and the local levels. And that includes linkages of these data as part of the regular surveillance and tracking activities. Tracking, once again, connects the environment and health information in one place. And one of the health effects is asthma. Prior to the development of the National Tracking Web Portal in 2009, it could be really difficult to find environmental health data and information without contacting several different agencies or reviewing numerous journals and publications. And the following list you see here are some of the data and information sources that share data and subject matter expertise and that you'll find on our website. And as you can see, they include the Florida Agency for Healthcare Administration, AHCA, which provides hospitalization and emergency department visits, the Florida Birth Defects Registry, which has the statewide birth defects registry information and data, the Florida Cancer Data Systems, which is the statewide cancer registry, and the Florida Department of Health Bureau of Vital Stats, which provides birth and mortality data. There's also the Florida Department of Health Radon Program, which provides radon screening data. Additional information and sources are the Florida Department of Environmental Protection, which provides air and water quality data, the Florida Cancer Control Center, which provides Poison Control Center call data, and the U.S. Census Bureau, which provides information on population estimates, housing, poverty, and commuting. Lastly, the United States Environmental Protection Agency also provides national air quality and national drinking water quality data. The Florida Department of Health partners with Florida DEP, the Centers for Disease Protection, the Florida Division of Forestry, and the Environmental Protection Agency to track outdoor air quality and to help you better understand how air pollution actually impacts our health. And since Florida Tracking collaborates with these programs and agencies at the state and federal level, Florida Tracking is a great resource that links you to even more data and information about air quality. As you can see here, some of the data includes the number of days with ozone or particulate matter levels over the National Ambient Air Quality Standard. You can also see how many people are living near busy roadways and the number of acres burned by large wildfires. Air quality is a major public health and environmental issue in the United States, and since air pollution has been linked to a number of health problems, including asthma, heart disease, and breathing problems. Sometimes you just want to get ready and go for a hike or a run, and we all know how important it is to keep active and stay active. Well, Florida Tracking is a great resource that you can use to learn more about environmental conditions, as I've shared, including community access to parks and trails, so you can stay active. Another resource we have is the Florida Tracking Resource Library. It provides health-related data and information, and it's just at your fingertips right on our website. It includes journal articles, infographics, newsletters, outreach materials, and videos. And those journal articles are written by Florida Tracking staff and partners. The infographics were also created by Environmental Public Health Tracking staff and our partners to create, to educate audiences about some of the health outcome information that you find on Florida Tracking. one important thing is that we do provide the infographics in English, Spanish, and Haitian Creole, and they're available online or in print. Our newsletters are shared on a quarterly basis, and they highlight health topics and share Florida tracking news and accomplishments and successes. We also share information about our partners. The outreach materials were also created to educate our audiences about Florida tracking and let you know the different health information that you can find on our website. And they include everything from fact sheets and handouts and even cookbooks. And our videos were created to share information about many different environmental health topics, including asthma and radon, generator safety, and heat illness. The fact sheets that you can find on our website, one is the Florida Tracking Environmental Health Facts. And on one side, you find key environmental health facts. And on the other side, you can find data about things such as how many people live within a half mile of a park and how many people have asthma related ED visits for 10,000 people. So they cover a large area of data and information. Other fact sheets include topics such as carbon monoxide, as you can see here, using generator safety, and an overview fact sheet. Cookbooks are one of our more popular resources that we have, so I just wanted to mention it here. There's the Hook 2 cookbook, which offers seafood recipes, and there's also the Cooking Up folate-rich foods that shares recipes that contain folate. I mentioned the videos, and you can find videos about how the environment affects your health and well-being, such as this one called Green Spaces. And there's also asthma and occupational health for employers and employees. And we'll view some of these videos a little bit later in our presentation. In addition to all the things I've already shared, we do outreach in the community. And Florida Tracking is more than just a website. We're a network of people that work together to provide better information for better health. We participate in the community both in person and throughout the years virtually when needed. This may be too small to see, but we've attended several events and worked with our partners, internal partners and community partners at an annual STEM event at Florida A&M University, Children's Week that's held at the Capitol, the Earth Day Festival here in Tallahassee, the Tallahassee Memorial Healthcare Baby and Family Fair, and the Tallahassee Science Festival. Let's see what else. We also, the Florida State Career Day and University of Florida, Leon County Extension Open House. In addition to that, we've also presented in the past at the Asthma Coalition meetings and conference. And we also have other examples of outreach and community involvement. And we've presented in addition to the asthma conference, the Florida Public Health Association, Florida Rural Health Association, National Council of State and Territorial Epidemiologists, and the list goes on and on. Let's see, BHAW, and the National Environmental Health Association Conference. So we may have met some of you there, and if not, maybe we hope to see you in coming years or months. And as I mentioned, we also partner with the Florida Asthma Coalition. In addition to the presentations at conferences and out in the community, we also have a technical advisory group. We call it the TAG, and it's made up a lot of partners from academia and state and federal agencies, and also members of the community. They're just our health advocates who are interested in, environmental health. And we meet regularly, and at this time virtually, so it's pretty easy to just zoom in like we are now for a meeting. And so if you're interested in joining our TAG, you can reach out to us. You'll see our contact information after this call. because we'd really appreciate your insight. We also, in the past, have provided many grants to local health departments, and we've worked with students from Florida universities via internships. Environmental health information and data is data about where you live, you work, and you play. And as you can see, you can find that all on the Florida Tracking website. And sorry about that. I just want to thank you for your interest in Florida Tracking, and be sure to check us out. We're at floridatracking.com. And next up is going to be Chris, and he's going to provide a demo of Florida Tracking website, and he's going to focus a little bit more on outdoor air quality and criteria air pollutants as well. So again, I just want to thank you for having the time to share about Florida Tracking and provide this overview. Gonna end my show.
Thank you, Diane.
And you should be able to share now, Chris.
Okay. Let's see. You guys seeing my web browser now?
Yes, we can, Chris.
You can? Okay. All right. I was doing it on this monitor to hopefully be able to stare at the camera the right way. Okay. So this is, as Diane said, our web portal for Florida Environmental Public Health Tracking. And the URL is pretty easy. It's just floridatracking.com. And this is sort of a landing page where every month we put what's new content. So it's November's Lung Cancer and COPD Awareness Month. So we have all these links to help people learn more information. And we do actually have COPD indicators as well. I know today the focus is more on asthma, but since it is lung, cancer and COPD Awareness Month, we just want to highlight that. It's also National Rural Health Day on Thursday, November 16th. So this content we do update with Diane's help about once a month to feature, what's new, what are the observances for that month. So the first thing you'll probably notice on the website is the left-hand menu. And this is where, you can link to a lot of different types of data. So you can think of this site as really kind of a data dissemination platform, which is why we call it a portal or a data portal. And there's some tools here to explore data, but also, so some products that we think make it easier to turn that data into information, like for people to learn and absorb the different messages that we want them to understand about environmental exposures and how to avoid those hazards. The overall focus of the website is really, preventable environmental exposures and just educating people about what they need to know. So I'm going to start with the air quality landing page. This is outdoor air quality, and each of our landing pages has the same sort of tab system with the overview and data, and then a little more explanation about kind of where this data came from, and links. There's a lot of links to sources of air quality data. But the links that we have here under the data tab, they launch our data explorer. And so if I click one of them, it will launch an indicator that's the number of days with maximum 8-hour ozone over the national ambient air quality standard. So Florida overall is blessed with really good air quality compared to places like California. Some of that's geography, being a peninsula that sticks out over the ocean and the Gulf of Mexico. Lots of prevailing wind that tends to carry things away from us. So we're fortunate in that regard. But there's certainly times when we get into extended droughts, or as we had a couple weeks ago, a Canadian wildfire all the way hundreds of miles away brought that to us. So, there are times where our air quality cannot, will not be good. But that's just one example of an indicator. You can see there's some from PM, which is pretty important when it comes to asthma, the PM 2.5 exposures. And we also have these measures around busy roadways. So we get this data from the Florida Department of Transportation, and they measure average annual daily traffic on each road segment. It's a state road in Florida. So we took that, and any place where the traffic is greater than 25,000 vehicle trips per day is considered busy. So if you click on this link, you can see it's really, the urban areas, the highly dense areas in Florida, where people would tend to live closer within 500 feet of a busy roadway. And so the Southeast Florida, the most dense, densely populated part of the state, does have the highest percentage of people that live within 500 feet. You know, compared to super large cities like New York City, this would be a lower percentage perhaps. In those highly urban settings, the traffic is even a more significant exposure of personal pollution. But there are many places in Florida where people live awfully close to highways, interstates, or very, very busy US highways. And so those are exposures, you know, when it comes to asthma that we want people to be aware of. And obviously, if there are community advocates and others who would be involved in trying to reduce those traffic exposures, either through better use of mass transit or put the highway somewhere else, you know, those would be conversations we hope this data can support. So we're going to go back to the landing page for air quality. I'm not going to highlight the wildfires too much because we need to update it. This 2013 is the latest data, but talk with someone today about looking for newer data on that measure. And I think that's at the county level, like percentage of acres burned and things like that. So that is the first landing page I wanted to show on air quality. And our pages sort of repeat with the ability to link to that same data explorer. And I didn't say it out loud, but this data explorer uses basically Google Maps to show our data on top of it. So if you've used that for navigation, you know, or other purposes, then you're probably very familiar with the Google interface. But we have little controls, like you can turn on the base map, labels, you can turn off the county labels. So, you know, neat little controls like that. Okay, so the next thing I wanted to show is the indoor air section. Right now, we really just have radon in here. So like the number of housing units tested for radon is fairly recent data in 2022. And you can kind of see, you can click on the counties and see the number of houses tested. This is it's a combination of certified radon businesses that report the data, as well as homeowners could technically send us data too. So it's more or less voluntary on the residential side. There are a series of facilities like, you know, group homes that are and schools that are required to test. We have that data in another place. Okay, so that's radon. I realize it's not directly applicable to asthma, but just wanted to make you aware of another indoor air type of exposure. So we have weather measures here. This is mostly extreme heat measures. And then let me show you this section called community profiles, because there's a neat one in here for respiratory health. And it basically pulls in all of the indicators from these different domains, these different content areas that have to do with respiratory health. So you get asthma, COPD, and ozone, and PM2. They're all in one place now with the latest year that we have available. Now, we were working on 2022 data as we speak. I actually put it on our dev server yesterday. So this will hopefully be updated in the near future. But again, you get these different indicators. That's what we call them, these measures of asthma ED visits as well as hospitalizations. Now, obviously, if we're doing a better job with prevention, with people getting access to care and medication, we would like to see the this kind of severe outcome, the ED visit or the hospitalization, be lower. And there was also a transition from ICD-9 to 10 around 2015-16 that plays a role in some of the trends we've seen through time. But just wanted to give you a sense that there is a way to look at these overall indicators for your specific geography. So if you're really working in one county and you're very interested in that, then you can see all these measures for just that one geographic area. So, okay. That is our community profile reports. There's several other kinds of reports in here too, but I wanted to highlight the respiratory health report. All right, I don't want to forget to point out that we do have this occupational health section, because there are people whose asthma is made worse by where they work, the kind of occupation they have. And I just today sent off a reminder that we need the 2019 data. It's one of the reasons it's behind is that some of this is based on workers' comp and other systems that are slow. So it's basically a collection of indicators. If I just see where it says asthma among adults caused or made worse by work here. So there's unfortunately, these are statewide. These are not county by county. So these are statewide reports that get centralized into one report. Okay, so that is on the occupational health side. Like as I said, we're going to work on getting the 2019 up there pretty soon. We're partnered with the National Institute for Occupational Safety and Health, or NIOSH, for constructing the data related to those indicators. Unfortunately, we don't get direct funding anymore for occupational health epidemiologists, so we do this sort of as time allows to get these reports ready. All right, so what I've shown you so far is just like a series of data points and indicators. And I want to switch gears a little bit and focus now on the kind of products that make it easier for people to understand what that data means. You know, what should I do about it? Is there a way to avoid this thing? So the rest of it is going to focus kind of on these products or visualization tools. And Diane mentioned the resource library, which is kind of down here in the bottom left of the menu. So the one that's really cool is these infographics. We've got like, I think 11 of these right now. There's one that features the busy roadways. So when we go out to the communities and we talk to them about, you know, that kind of exposure, we have an infographic that talks about, you know, safety and exposures related to busy roadways. There's another infographic for radon right here, and one for wildfires. So in each case, when it comes to that environmental exposure, you know, there's like an action item that we want people to take home. In the case of radon, the state offers free radon test kits. So we point people to that website and hope that they get their home tested, and we'll take the steps to remediate it if it's above the action level, which the EPA has set. In case of wildfires, it's tougher, right? Because we don't control what happens out in the forest, other than supporting controlled burning efforts. When we get into a bad wildfire season, which really hasn't happened in a good 10 years or more in Florida, the advice is pretty simple. You have to keep your windows closed and turn on the air conditioning. You know, there's not a lot else you can do, especially if you have to be outside. If you work outside, or if you know, we tell people to avoid, you know, strenuous recreation during those bad wildfire episodes. But if you have to be outside to make a living, that's tough to avoid that kind of exposure. If you can stay indoors, again, with the windows closed and the AC running, then you would be able to avoid some of the PM elevations that would occur with the wildfires. So, you know, we have a series of these infographics, and we work with subject matter experts. We don't actually have one related to asthma specifically, and I've talked to Diane about it, as to, you know, what would the audience be and what would we say? So it's something we're thinking about and sort of brainstorming about, working with the Florida Asthma Program too. But you can see we have some for childhood lead poisoning and other things that are in the Department of Health that we've worked with those stakeholders to design. When it comes to the videos, that link is down here. And we have this green spaces video we wanted to show you guys. It's only about 30 seconds. Shelby, I'm wondering whether the audio will really come through, so maybe I won't play it, but if you get time, go and look at this green spaces video, because it talks about the importance of leaving that kind of place in the urban setting and how it has benefits for not only mental health, physical activity, but, you know, the air purifying aspect of forests and trees, and, you know, that's important for where we live. The other, you know, we do have these in Spanish too, and so there are 2 asthma-related videos that are talking about work exposures, one for employers and one for employees. And they both have messages related to avoiding those kinds of exposures, using personal protective equipment and the right, you know, the right kind of things in that setting to avoid, you know, asthma exacerbations and the you know, long-term impacts that might come from silicosis and things like that. So you know, I wish we had more videos, to be honest, because people love them, and we get them featured on social media. Occasionally we even pay Facebook to highlight these. That typically happens during hurricane season, when there's unfortunately a big impact to a populated area. And so last year with Hurricane Ian, we did pay for the generator safety video to be featured in Facebook ads, just because we tend to see spikes in carbon monoxide poisonings, because people improperly use generators like in a garage or in their home, or or they don't have a CO alarm. So anyway, it's just an example of us using social media to try to get the word out about that important public health message. And like I said, I wish we had more videos because it does seem to be the way that people really like to consume information. I know when I have to do something, I'm not sure how, I'll YouTube, like fixing the car or doing something around the house. And so people younger than me, it's like the first place they turn is either Google or YouTube, to know how to do something. And so they're just kind of expecting that we'll, as a public health agency, have their information, their messages available in that kind of format. So, it's easy to say, but we have to work with, videographers and editors and develop scripts. And, there's a process, unless we want to record ourselves, which feels a little weird. There's a process to developing the messages, that we make available through that video format. And so that is our kind of video landing page there. But there's other products we have that also allow us to turn that message into something that's more easily consumed by people. Literally, we have a cookbook that tries to inform people about safe seafood consumption, like avoiding mercury exposures. So, every one of these projects out here has like an end report or a product that people can use to learn more. And so this housing story map, for example, it's the first of what we hope will be many story maps. There's like a guided tour through an issue. This one was with the Indian River County Health Department down there. And, certainly housing plays a huge role in people's personal exposures and asthma exacerbations, whether it's, roaches and, dust and, proximity to busy roadways, all those things that are in our homes definitely play a role in our ability to control our asthma. And so this housing story map was more about affordability, to be honest. It wasn't really about asthma. But it's one example of what we hope will be many more story maps. We keep those here under the mapping links. So if you're interested in chronic disease risk factors, we have a respiratory section in there. There's a walkability map here in the Community Health Explorer. And then, of course, there's more standard like lead. You can look up the age of your house if you want to know, was my house built from 1978? So we just have a series of these map interfaces that allow people to explore a little bit more about their environment and the kinds of things there that could make them sick. So, again, it's another, I guess I'll just call it a value-added product or another way to turn data into information. Because at its core, you can start, if you want to, you could start right here at the Data Explorer and just start clicking, go to asthma, go to the emergency department visits. In fact, I went ahead and set one up that I'll just switch to this web browser. Are you guys able to see this graph now, this line graph? Somebody confirm.
Yes.
Okay, great.
Looks good.
I switched to a different browser, so I just want to make sure it was still showing up. That started out with me just playing around with two counties that had the highest asthma ED. I think this is the ED rate. A number of ED visits and ED are basically in this little table right here. So these are two of the highest in the state, depending on what year you're looking at, of course. But I decided, well, okay, let's explore a little bit more of what has been happening for the last, 16 years or so with those two counties. And so the green and yellow lines are the counts, and if I hover, I can see the number. And then the red and the blue are the rates. So really it's the Madison is red and green. But those two lines sort of go together, the rate and the count through time. And then Gaston is the blue and the yellow. Also, to go looking at the counts and the rates. And you can kind of see, this real spike during the Great Recession. And, that line was definitely going up before the Affordable Care Act kind of kicked in. So all these factors are at, at play here, not just air quality, we understand that. And then you have the transition from ICD-9 to ICD-10 that happens in this 2016 timeframe roughly. And then a drop, which is wonderful. And I've talked to Wanda Donham and others about, ways to think about what happened, better medications, better treatments, Affordable Care Act impact. So lots of things are at play here. And then the 2020 of the pandemic, where the healthcare seeking behavior was definitely very different than it had been before. And people were not in school, kids especially were not in school, workplace exposures were reduced. Now it's starting to go back up in 21, and we'll see what happens with 22 once that data goes live. So, this gives you a way to speak with someone about historical trends and the role that, we all play in the clinical settings. I know a lot of you guys have that background, but also when we're setting policy about, yes, controlled burns are a pain because you get that small burst of smoke, but it's way better than a terrible wildfire that's going to last for weeks and weeks. So it's those sorts of messages that we can help to support with graphs like this. All right, so this is basically our data explorer. And I wanted to end with just one more thing you guys can play with later. It's not yet in our Google Map interface, but it is on the regular Google Map. And so if you just go to maps.google.com, you can go down to this little control down here and click more, and they have an air quality tool here. It's neat. It's a combination of airnow.gov, which is the official, Environmental Protection Agency monitors, which come from state data through our Florida DEP, for example. So it's a combination of those official criteria air monitors and what's called the Purple Air Network or Purple Air Monitoring. It's sort of a crowdsourced thing. You buy a Purple Air monitor for your house or your business, and then if you want to, you allow them to use your data for this web service, like a streaming data provider. And we're looking at it right now, basically real-time data that, you can click on these guys, you can zoom in. See this one says it's Purple Air.
Chris, I'm
Somewhere
not
here-
seeing that. Pardon me,
Oh, you're
Chris.
not seeing it this
I'm
time?
not. Yeah, this time. I'm still seeing the
Did I switch to too many web browsers? Can somebody else confirm whether you
Yeah.
can see it?
Hi, Chris,
I'm
what
seeing-
exactly are we supposed to be seeing?
Okay, so it's Google Maps, and right here in Palatka, there's an unhealthy measurement right now.
Let's see. I see a map. I see in the center of the frame a customized age-adjusted rate of asthma emergency
Okay.
visits.
Well, see, now this time it didn't switch to the right browser. I apologize. Let me
No worries.
stop sharing for a second. And
There you
then
go.
share again. And we'll see if we can get back there. All right. Let's choose this one. Okay, apologies for that. Are you guys seeing it now?
No worries. I've experienced the same thing where if I have multiple browser windows, even if I have it set to share the browser, it can go between tabs, but it cannot go between windows.
Okay.
Not at all an issue. I am now seeing Google Maps with an unhealthy indicator.
Okay, good. Apologies for that. Yeah, all I was doing was just I was zoomed out like this. And these, they get, once you zoom in, they get actually slightly tricky to see because if they're blue, especially, blend in with a lot of, or green, so the wrong color. But they blend in because there's a lot of green in Google Maps. But this one here is, well, it should be a TCC. The official DEP monitor is not showing up today for some reason. I was going to click it and show you that one comes from AirNow, but it's a pretty good air quality day here. We just had a cold front come through, but something's going on in Palatka. And now, so this one does say AirNow, but that's not from the Purple Air Network. This is an official, EPA air monitor, basically, that's providing that reading at this point in time. So our hope is to actually start adding these to our own Google interface. But then you got to think about, well, does somebody want to look at today's air quality with asthma data from 2021? So our hope is actually to get some syndromic surveillance data. There's another, besides the hospitalization ED visits, there's another data source that the Department of Health has, which is called Essence. And it uses syndromic data to look at chief complaints, basically like yesterday and today's visits to urgent care, ED, hospitalization. And you can, it's a little bit dirtier data, but you can see spikes a lot sooner when it comes to things like asthma. So that I would love to have some measure of that, like today's, sort of spike in asthma related to air quality measures like this. I think that's really the future where we need to go as a public health agency to give people more timely data, because we hear it a lot that, hey, what's going on now? It's great, you can show me from 2 years ago what's going on today. So I'd want to leave you guys with at least this tool that Google currently has. And if anybody has one of those purple air monitors, I'm jealous because I don't yet have one. I do crowdsourcing with my rain gauge. I report that every day, but I don't yet have one of these in my yard. So I think I will stop there in the hopes that there's maybe a few questions or other, discussion items that people want to have. So let me stop sharing. And
Thank you
if it's okay, Zan, we can
both.
just open it up. Yeah.
That was terrific. Diane and Chris, thank you so much. We have about just under 20 minutes for Q&A. Let me remind folks that in addition to asking your questions verbally, you're welcome to write them in the chat and I will read them out. So whichever is easier and more accessible for you, please do that. So we will take your questions. We got some time. And we have a reminder as well while you're thinking of questions. We have some reminders in the chat about how to get your CEU and or CHES credits for attending this presentation today. There is a specific evaluation for the CHES credits that is separate from the workshop evaluation that I'll be sending out. So if you want CHES credits, you're going to expect to take 2 surveys.
Well, I guess we answered all the questions, Zan.
Hi, Chris. I actually have a question. Would you mind sharing your screen again and going back to the Google Maps and showing folks how to access the air quality portion?
Sure. Yeah, let's go back here. All right. All right, you seeing it now?
Yes, this is just the normal Google
Right.
Maps
It's
page.
down here under layers.
Okay.
And I haven't tried this on my phone. It just occurred to me I should try it and see what that looks like, because the control might be a little different. But on your desktop, the same place you would add traffic, there's this air quality thing now. This little
Okay.
widget to add the air quality.
Very
Yeah,
cool.
they even have a wildfires one too, which is kind of neat. Yeah,
Awesome.
that's where you do it. And they're clickable, you can click on this and see that if it says purple air, it's from the Purple Air Network. And if it says air now, like this one, then it's an official EPA or Florida DEP monitor. And they've got some really good documentation here too. To help you guys. It links up with, apparently they're doing this in other countries too, because you can see the European and India thing here. But lots of good documentation that Google has there.
Chris, I had a quick question.
Sure.
I know you mentioned the purple was one of those the crowdfunding, and so is that data you said that's a little dirtier? Does that mean that it might not be great for like official reporting, and we'd want to use that second data source that you just mentioned?
Yeah, I mean, I think at this point in time, that's the right way to put it. And people are working right now on how closely these purple air monitors are getting to the official monitors. Because the benefit of the Purple Air Network is there's so many more. There's only like 30 official air quality monitors in Florida, depending on whether you're talking about ozone or PM 2.5. There's a lot more than that when it comes to purple air. And a place like California that has a lot more air quality issues, there's thousands of purple air monitors there. So they get really good geographic coverage. I think that's my point, is that yeah, I would say at this point in time, if you got to make an important decision, should you use the official air monitor? Mm-hmm. There's entire counties that don't have them. And certainly if you were doing something more local with a zip code, you might be too far away to say whether it's really representative of your area. But the crowdsourcing thing is pretty interesting, because there's a lot of backlash. You have to pay to use the Purple Air web service. So that's part of what we're looking into right now, is can we afford it? but there's backlash because people are like, I'm collecting this data for you, and now you're making me pay to use it. So I think they're carving out an exception for people that have these, that contribute to the data collection.
Very interesting. Thank you.
Yep. So next time we have a bad air quality day, whether that's Canadian wildfires or something, take a look at that. Yeah, good question, Wanda. I mean, I think the last thing I saw was, and I think this was particulate matter. It was within about 3, micrograms per meter, cubic meter. So for the regulatory people, that's not good enough. But for us to look at trends, I think it would be close enough to say, from day to day, can we monitor controlled burns? Can we monitor wildfires? Yes, it would absolutely pick up a sudden increase, in smoke, the PM2.5 measurement. So, and I know it happens here in North Florida, where we have, in the Tallahassee area, 1 monitor out at Tallahassee Community College. Well, there might be a controlled burn that just doesn't come to that part of town. The smoke plume, is all on the eastern side of town, so the official monitor never picks it up. So that event, if that were to make somebody's asthma work worse, it would be hard to track it. So we need more of these monitors. And the history of the official monitors is more about regulation. They're called criteria air pollutants for a reason. It's because they set rules around, do you have to have special devices on a gas pump? In big metro areas, they have these to keep down the fumes. What sort of emissions testing do we have in vehicles? So the official air monitors are used for things like that. So to avoid lawsuits, they really make them very, very, very accurate. But if we're trying to make a few additional public health decisions, around exposures and what hazard exists in our air, I think we could still do that with purple air, with those lower cost sensors. Any other questions? Well, Diane, I wonder if we should put up our contact info again, or put it in the chat, in case people want to follow up with anything.
Did we fully answer the question? I see a question from Wanda in the chat about the accuracy of purple monitors.
Yeah. I mean, there's still a lot of study ongoing about that very thing, because the air quality is so dynamic that there's a lot of factors that play into that. Humidity is one, elevation is another, which we don't have to deal with too much here in Florida. But and you're absolutely right, Wanda. Not only can your neighbor cause some really, and that may be a reflection of your exposure, though. Think about it, but they do try to cite the official monitors and ways to avoid those things, which occasionally gets criticized because they're like, none of these are near busy roads. So are we ever going to count people's exposures to air pollution from traffic? Occasionally that's actually a criticism, that they cited these things so well to avoid sort of ups and downs and short-term, aberrations. There's even people that have purple air monitors indoors. So in big, factories and other workplaces. But, somebody smokes next to the exit door and you might pick up things like that. So we're in kind of a wild west of new ways to measure air quality, where the data is available before it's 100% clear how to interpret it and how to use it. So yeah, I think my email is also .gov. I see Diane just put it in the chat. Chris.DuClos@flhealth.gov. Yeah, I agree, Wanda. I mean, I think it's a little bit understudied in Florida, because we're not, we don't have California traffic, but we have a lot of major metropolitan areas where, I know in Tampa, where I grew up, they widened I-275 into, like 10 or 12 lanes now. And so there's residential areas that are impacted by that. Any other questions or comments?
I'll just remind everyone, we will be sending out 2 surveys. They'll both be SurveyMonkey surveys, but they are different. So I see Chris and Diane have corrected a bit of contact information in the chat as well. And of course, if you're having trouble reaching one of them, you're also welcome to reach out to me. I'll put my contact in the chat as well, or to our Health Council colleagues with the planning@hcsef.org email address, or you can email Florida Asthma, FL Asthma Coalition @gmail.com. So we will be sending you 2 surveys. And those surveys are going to be different. They'll both be from SurveyMonkey, but they address different things. One of them is a general evaluation for the webinar. We encourage you to complete that and give us some feedback. And then there's also a survey if you are doing CHES credits for this. There's a CHES evaluation survey that you will need to complete in order to get your credits. So if you get 2 surveys and you think, gosh, didn't I already take this survey? Look closely at what it is, because we want to make sure you get your CHES credits if you want to get CHES credit for this. All right. Any other questions? I've been watching the chat. I haven't seen anything else come in, but I'm just going to give it a minute to see if anybody else wants to ask a question before we go ahead and wrap up for today. All right, Diane is putting contact information in the chat. I will put mine there.
Yeah, Diane's pointing out we have a way for people to submit questions on the contact us link of our homepage.
Excellent.
She and I both get those emails through that form.
So I put my email in the chat as well. It's X Novakovsky, all one word. That's XNOWAKOWSKI @fsu.edu. If anybody needs to reach me. And I will mention that I hosted today because Dr. Dunham was not able to be with us today. So it was my pleasure to host. I'm always happy to support the coalition and do something new. And it was really a privilege to be here today. Those were spectacular presentations from our speakers. I learned a lot about a lot of good resources and how to use them. So if you do have other questions, we encourage you to follow up with us using the contact information provided. We hope that you have a wonderful rest of your week. If you're celebrating Dia de los Muertos today, sending many happy wishes, and we hope you all had a happy Halloween or Samhain as well.
Thank you, everyone.
Take care.
All right, see ya.